Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the show. This is episode one. So, today we're going to talk about preparing for your future. So a lot of people have told me to, you know, buy houses, buy stocks, buy, anything that you can, bonds, anything that you can to try to make yourself money. And everybody always says to just do it and then fix it up and or whatever, watch the market and then just sell when it's higher and that's how you make your money. Everybody always just says to do things and it always sounds so simple, right? Just buy this fucking cheap beater and fix it up and then sell it in a couple years and you made your money. Easy enough, right? But nobody ever talks about how to prepare yourself for that time. Nobody ever talks about how to actually put in the due process and actually put in the discipline and structure in your life in order to achieve that point. It's always easy to just, just train and then just run the marathon and win the marathon. It's not that simple, is it? Because there's years of dedication, years of hard work in order for you to actually get that winning gold medal, right? So I did want to talk about it, so there's a quote, all right? There's a quote that says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And this is a quote from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and it is a French author of The Little Prince. Now, it has been interpreted later as a dream without a plan is just a wish, right? And I believe that to be true even to this day, where if you have a dream and you make no plan to execute it, then it is just a wish because what are you doing to make it real, right? And that's the whole point of this show of, the real mission show. Like, what is your mission in life? What is it that you're doing? So if you have a dream, make that your mission, make that your goal, make that your plan, right? Then it's not a wish. Now you actually have something that you're striving for, that you're looking forward to. Picture this, what if I said, hey, the end of the summer, we're gonna go on a cruise. Everybody just needs to save up $500 each, and I got the rest. I'm buying the tickets. It's all inclusive, this and that. I just need everybody to come up with $500 by the end of the summer, right? Now that gives everybody a couple months to try to get scrounge up $500. See, that is your goal. That's your mission. Blah blah blah. I need $500 so I could do this later, right? Take that same concept, magnify it, and go, hey, I need to save up $10,000. Blah blah blah. Whatever your reason is, but you get the point. So some of the structures that we can do and many of the things I do personally, I do it firsthand. I do things like I write down my expenses and my income and I find out where my money's going. I try to do it every month. I'm not always religious about it where I do it every single month. I really should. I should really correct myself on that. But generally speaking, I do write myself a monthly report on myself. I sit down and evaluate myself, like a mini accountant. And I dissect it, right? I write down everything. And if I tell myself, hey, I want to save up, let's say $1,000 a month, let's say $1,500 a month, whatever that number is, I will write it down and see where my money's going and if I'm seeing the result or not. Because I should be, right? If I write everything down and I see where my money's going and I know that I'm going to be doing minimal spending, then I should see a result that my mission is over here to save up $10,000. I should be saving up $1,000 a month. That means 10 months from now, I should have $10,000, right? Well, in order to make that real, I have to keep going, right? I have to keep striving. I have to keep doing it. There's no way to not do it. I mean, it's easy to not do it, right? It's easy to be like, oh, look, if I got $1,000 to save, well, what's an extra, couple $100 for a car payment? Oh, what's another $100 for the better internet? What's another hundred? You get the point, you know? And so many people will dive into that. And they will say, hey, if I can save up $1,000 a month, shit, I can do this. I can buy that. I can, buy myself this. And now that $1,000 a month ain't enough anymore. Now they can barely save up $50 a month because they've chose to go spend all their money. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can structure themselves and save up $1,000 a month because some people are in very unfortunate situations. But most of us out here, we do have that. We do have that power to look at ourselves in the face and be like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna buy fast food. I am not gonna buy this. I'm not gonna whatever. Just like when your mom and dad told you, or whoever, your father, parent figure, whatever, when you were like, hey, I want this, and they would just be like, no, right? No. You had enough. It's over. No, right? You're not getting an extra piece of candy when you just ate whatever, right? No. Okay. Now, if we do that to ourselves and we discipline ourselves, then we can also tell ourselves no. I do that all the time. I will be driving home and I'll be like, man, I completely forgot to pull out something from the freezer, right? I'm one of those guys, right? I buy like 3 or 4 pounds of ground beef, put it all in the freezer, then pull it out as I need it and thaw it, stuff like that. And I'll be driving home after work and I'll be like, dang it, I forgot to pull out the chicken or whatever I was gonna cook. I completely forgot to pull it out. And I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go through the drive-through somewhere. Maybe I'll go to KFC. Maybe I'll go to Burger King. Wherever. I'll just go somewhere real quick where I could come in and out and just not even worry about it, and then I'll pull it out tonight and then worry about it tomorrow. Right then and there, once I start thinking like that, I tell myself no. Right then and there. Bam. I don't even bother. I don't even try to keep going of how, oh, it's not a big deal. It's only $10. It's just for me. It's not like I'm buying for a family. It's just me. Look, every dollar should have a purpose, you know? Every dollar should have a purpose. So if we discipline ourselves and structure ourselves, we can actually cut corners in our own financial world, right? Once you write everything down and you see that you've been spending $250 a month on random food, where like your grocery bill is freaking $600, $700, $800 a month, and then on top of that you're throwing another 200 on random stuff, sometimes even more. Um, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, do you really need those things? You know, do you really need a car payment that's $500 a month? Do you really need to be eating out like that when you can eat at home? Yeah, I get it. A lot of people tell me, but Mike, you got to live a little, man. You can't just sit there and just keep living like a robot and not doing anything and just your life's on repeat over and over. And I get that. You shouldn't, just throw away your whole life and live like a robot. But there's some instances where you pretty dang close, you kind of have to, you know? You got to make a choice sometimes. I mean, not everybody is just fortunate enough to just sell everything, bet it on red and at the roulette table, and then bam, you just doubled your money and now you're good to go. Not everybody's, that fortunate like that where they just come up on a bunch of money like that. So, so what can you do? Well, this is what you can do. You can structure your life. You can discipline yourself. You can look at yourself in the face and say no. It all comes down to the person. It all comes down to behavior. This guy, Dave Ramsey, I really love this guy. He's based out of Nashville, Tennessee. I encourage everybody to go watch him. Just check his stuff out. He always talks about how, you know, everybody should be living off rice and beans and rice until you get out of debt. And I agree, everybody should be out of debt. Everybody should be having no car payment, no credit card payments, none of that stuff, and only focus on your house. Because once you free up all that money and then you're so used to only spending, say, $500 a month for your family. Now, we're not talking about bills, like as far as electricity or anything, but you can still cut corners there too. You know, if you're one of the guys that leaves the freaking night lights on and runs the AC really cold in the summer and really hot in the winter, you know, there's obvious ways. I mean, you may not like it. I'm not going to say this journey you're just going to enjoy the whole thing, but you put in this little sacrifice, you identify some of the things that you can do, and you discipline yourself, you'll see the results in that 10 months. You want to save up $1,000 a month and have 10 grand in 10 months? You can do that. You know, I mean, the second that you start making excuses, I gotta have Starbucks, I gotta this, oh, I can't do that, that'll never be me. Like, once you start closing your own door on yourself, then there's really nowhere left for you to go but backwards, right? So you got to just keep going. You know, you got to really look at yourself and be like, I'm going to discipline myself and I'm going to structure my life so I can see the results. So let's try to think a little forward of that. You know, you go up and you finally save up your 10 grand that you've been working so hard to save up, you know. Now, obviously, if you have, you know, a family member that's on board with you, that sees your dream and your vision and is riding with you, you got a spouse. Okay, obviously, this journey is going to be sped up a lot faster. It's going to be a lot easier for you, right? But we're talking about if you were solo and you have to do it alone, what are you going to do? What can you do? What options can you pursue, right? Um, you know, so one thing that you could do after you save up your 10 grand, right? Let's just say 10 months has went by, you saved up your 10 grand. What do I do now? Well, let's look at options. Let's see what you can do. How much do you make? How much do you know, spend on a regular basis? You know, I mean, you saved up your $1,000 a month that you wanted. Could you have saved up 1,500 bucks? Blah, 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 right? So you'd think what to do next after you get that 10 grand. Well, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to this? Do you want to invest in stocks? Because now you can start planning accordingly. You know, you can literally come up with a 5 year game plan and run it all in your head and be like, hey, I can have a house in 10 years. I can have a house in 5 years. I can have a house in whatever, you know, because I'm gonna save up $2,000 a month. I'm gonna save up $3,000. I'm gonna move in with my mom and dad, and I hate to do it, but I know that my dad will only charge me 200 bucks, and then my mom's gonna convince him to never charge his son, right, or daughter, or whatever. So you go in with that mindset of this is what I want to do. How can I do it? Oh, that's what I can do. I can save up $1,000 a month. But you know what? I did the math and I was cutting corners on my formula. Turns out I can save up $1,400 a month. I can save up $1,500 a month. Now I'll get my 10 grand goal instead of 10 months from now. Now I'll get it in six, you know? So there's plenty of things that you can do in order to make it real. And that's what I do, right? I structure my life to where I see the result every month. And then the months that I don't, I go back and I dissect it and figure out what went wrong. Oh, that's right. The tire went out, you know, like one time the tire on my freaking car went flat, and then when I was waiting to get it towed, I locked my freaking keys in the car, so then I had to call a locksmith. Yeah, that's a nice little day that I had going for me that day, right? Flat tire, tow truck, and you need a locksmith. So anyway, you know, but you dissect it, you figure it out, what went wrong, you know, because you'd be amazed on how much money that you spend on a regular basis, and you don't even know why. You know, like there's plenty of justifiable things, you know, obviously if something breaks, obviously if, you know, whatever serious circumstance comes up and you're like, I had no choice but to pay $650 for this, you know, understandable, you know. But if we run your numbers, you didn't really have nothing going on the last month, and you have barely any money in your savings, but you're making, 5 grand a month. Well, let's figure that out together because your rent is only 2 grand, right? So you should have 3 grand left over. Where's your money? That concept. Everybody's got their own story and their own reasons, but most of our stuff is behavior, and that's a lot that Dave Ramsey puts out. Live off rice and beans, beans and rice, and save up like no one else, so you can live and give like no one else in the future. And that's all Dave Ramsey. I'm not taking his stuff, but yeah, these are things that we can implement in our lives, and the stuff that I do currently. So there's plenty of things that you can also do that doesn't necessarily involve so much time. Like if you come up with a way that you can make money and it's working out for you where you don't have to go to a 9 to 5 job, by all means, do whatever it is. But as long as you have a mission, as long as you have a goal, as long as you have a plan, then that is what's going to separate you from everybody else. There's so many people that's quick to say, "Oh man, I'm gonna buy this new car. Oh man, I'm gonna buy myself new clothes and new shoes and stuff like that because I only live once, and who knows if I'm gonna live to be next year. Who knows if I'm gonna live to be 40, 50, 30. Everybody's got their own idea at life, but I'm one of those guys where I would like to pass something down, you know? Like everybody, if you ask any man out there and you're like, "Hey, if you went back in time, what would you want to be?" They almost always say like something super cool, right? I want to be a king. I want to be the best warrior, whatever. And that's how I feel about life. Like if I set myself up right, then I'm not just setting myself up, I'm setting my family up, I'm setting my kids up, I'm setting my wife up. God forbid something happens to me, before I get to enjoy the fruits. But, that's just the reality. That's just the sheer reality where you got to make a plan for yourself. Whatever that plan is. Me, it's a lot of personal and family oriented plans. So it's not necessarily oh, I just want money. Oh, I just want oh, if I only made $100 million a year, that'd be great. Like I don't really have a money goal per se. I just know that I have a freedom goal that I'm achieving, and I don't know what that number is yet. I guess I'll figure that out as I go through life. But there's a there's a guy named Ben Malla. Excuse me one second. Just grabbing some water real quick. There's a guy named Ben Malla based out of Florida. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of him. Real good guy. He's like a freaking shark, man. This guy, he's all about real estate. And this guy will, yell at anybody. It don't matter if you're the sandwich lady. It don't matter if you're a freaking chauffeur, his son. It don't matter who the hell it is. This guy will get up in your face and let you know when he's got a problem. And he's he's like a shark, man. And this guy, he teaches, he wants to help people so much, and I really admire people like that, where he's very family oriented, and he basically built this humongous empire, $500 million worth of real estate. This guy buys hotels, apartments, and he started out buying a bunch of houses. His whole, so I'm not gonna go over his whole life story. You could go check out his YouTube channel as well, Ben Malla. Um, but this guy, he built this huge fortune, and all the time he talks about how he wants to pass it down to his kids, and how one day he just wants to go ahead and retire, and him and his wife just go off on their yacht and just go and explore the world and just go hang out, and just finally bear the fruits of all the struggles and everything and effort that they've put in, and it's time for the kids to take it over. And then their kids sit there and talk about how they want to grow the empire themselves. Now, I don't know their whole story of, if they want to have kids and pass it on to them. I don't know their personal life like that, but just based off of what I do know, that is something that I would love to have for myself, where I sat here and I strived and I put in effort and I kept going, and one day my kids are like, "You know what? I saw my dad. I went through it with him. I'm gonna My dad's getting older, he's getting tired. He can't do what he used to, but I can. I can, you know. My dad can't get over there and do whatever anymore, but me and my brother can, or whatever that is, whatever the situation is. They look at it as, oh, I'm not just gonna get all this stuff and all this money and whatever and all this freedom that my dad has with my mom. I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna grow it, you know? Like in Ben Mala's case, he got it to 500 million. Who knows when he's gonna stop and officially pass it over to his kids? But let's say he passed it over right now. Right now they're sitting on 500 million, and if he passes it over to the kids already have it in their mind. They want to increase it to 1 billion. That is awesome. That is awesome. I would love to have something like that, to where I built this little empire of mine, and then I'm like, hey kids, obviously I'm getting old. Me and your mom, we're just gonna go retire now, and it's just our time has come to just finally leave it over to you, and I'll always be here for you to help you guys out. But here you go. And then they take it, and instead of blowing it all on strippers and cocaine in Mexico, they take it and they're like, man, we have a real up, like a real up in life. Like now my mission has become their mission, and they did it by choice, not by me forcing them and brainwashing them into doing it. That's kind of like the big thing, like I don't want to make this empire for my kids. Like you ever see those uh, do you guys remember like Kitchen Nightmares or Bar Rescue? Those kinds of shows where they would go in and help out the business owner and whatever. There was always like that family, where it's like five kids, four kids, 10 kids, whatever it is. They're all running the family business, and half of them don't even want to be there, and then they start seeing their mom and dad cry, and then they all start crying because you know they're all there because their mom and dad and their family members are making each other do it. They're kind of manipulating each other. Like, what else are you gonna do? You gonna go smoke weed after school? Why don't you go help out the business and make yourself $20? And like, that concept of, well, you might as well. See, none of them want to do it. I mean, they end up changing their mind later because they, feel guilty because, they're watching their father and mother cry and everything. But that, obviously we're talking about specific scenarios here. But let's just go in general, like if you worked your butt off and you're like, hey, son, daughter, whoever, I'm passing this over to you. I mean, would you want them to truly be like, you know what, hey, thanks, and just sell it all and bet it on black at freaking Las Vegas? Like, come on, man. Like, or if they took it upon, like, you didn't manipulate them in any way, but they took it upon themselves and they're like, you know what? Thank you, dad. Thank you, mom. Whatever. And hey, I took your strategies, I took your ideas, and I multiplied it, or I did my own twist on it, and I ended up making way more money. Dude, that is awesome. I think everybody would want something like that, and that's kind of how I see it when people ask like, "Hey, what, if you back in the day, what would you want to be? Would you want to be a king?" So many people would be like, "I want to be a king, a great warrior, samurai, whatever, like just these top tier things." And that's kind of how I feel currently, where it's like, "Hey, maybe I can't be the next Elon Musk and things like that, but I can be a king of my own village." I can't, but in order for me to be a king of my village, first I got to build a village. And in order to build a village, I got to have a goal, a dream. Like, what is it? How do I do it? Okay, this is how I could do it. Oh, if I save up $1,000 a month. Okay, how do I save up $1,000 a month? Oh, I can. You guys see where I'm going with this? If you make a goal, if you make a dream, if you make a whatever, then you can go ahead and structure your whole life out. You can literally plan out your future, and you can make that your mission, and just don't stop by any means necessary. Just keep it going, make it real. That is your mission, dude. Like, when I was in the army, we would always have these drills and training and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get into it too much, but um uh basically that's your mission. Like, hey, you're tasked out to do this. We're going to simulate this. We're going to simulate an ambush. We're going to simulate whatever. And this is your goal. This is your mission, blah, blah, blah. Your mission is to get this over there. Boom. Right? You're not stopping to check what the weather is. You're not stopping to make sure where your buddy, if he's, does he need to take a shit because we could pull over? Like, you're not thinking about anything. You are fixed. You need to get over there by any means necessary. Bam, get it done. Right? And that same motivation, just shutting everything off, kind of like the horses where they put the blinders on so they can only see forward. They're not worried about what's going on the side. You're just focused on the end. Bam. And every day, whether your day is good or bad, you're just another day closer to your goal. Right? So I'm not saying that anything could happen, but pretty much anything could happen on a daily, like a day-to-day basis, assuming nothing crazy happened. But you're just going along your normal daily life, and it's just another day. You're just getting another day closer. You saved up another $1,500 this month. You saved whatever it is. So now you can reach this portion. Now you can reach 10 grand. Now you can reach 20 grand. Now you could use that 20 grand to put it on a down payment to go ahead and move into your first house. Now you still, now you got to save up another 10 grand for whatever because you want to do some landscaping because you want to whatever. You see the point? Keep it going, keep it growing. But keep your eye on the prize. You got to set yourself up because otherwise you're going to be one of them guys that sits there and it's like, okay, yeah, I've been saving up $1,000 a month, but I don't know for what. What am I gonna do with it? Oh, I might as well buy myself a new Apple Watch, buy myself a new phone. Hey, I don't make any payments, but I got new shit. It's like, okay, but if you would have taken a moment to plan out your life and prepare your future, then you wouldn't be in this situation right now where you're kind of feeling broke in a way and you have all this stuff but you really have nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, what are you gonna do 3 years from now? Well, buy a new phone. It's like, okay, sounds nice, bro. you know. So yeah. So that's kind of all I got for today, guys. Just wanted to take some time and talk about, just planning, structuring, and just discipline yourself. Guys, just discipline yourself. If you can look at a toddler and be like, hey, no means no. Stop that. Do not do that. I already said no more candy. Whatever, right? If you could tell a toddler that, guys, you can look at yourself in the face and be like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna buy any more beer because it cost me this much money last month. I'm not gonna buy any more fast food because it cost me this much money. I've already spent this much money this month on this nonsense. I'm gonna stop doing it. I'm not gonna buy Starbucks. I'm not. It's easy, guys. Once you start it, it feels tough, but once you start seeing the results, it's kind of hard to go back. It really is. You know, once you're so used to paying $200 a month on Starbucks, it just becomes part of your norm. But once you stop and you kind of rip it off like a band-aid, like no more, it's over now, right? And then a month or two goes by and you see that extra $200 a month that you were spending on Starbucks, it's kind of hard to look at yourself in the face and be like, let's start spending $200 a month on Starbucks. It's hard. It's kind of hard because you're so used to seeing that money grow. You're so used to seeing the results of your effort that you're kind of backtracking now. And yeah, so that's all I really got for today, guys. Just keep your head up. Just keep it going. Just keep your discipline in order. Just keep your structure in life on point. Make sure you guys are happy, healthy, take care of your health. Make sure you guys are drinking plenty of water, please. It's really easy to let many hours go by and you're not even hydrated very well and maybe you didn't eat right, maybe you went fast food this morning, maybe you were in my situation, you guys forgot to pull out that frozen packet of meat and you're contemplating going through Taco Bell or something, telling you guys You guys don't have to do it, but it's your life. You guys make the choice. But all right, everybody have a good day.